So the company must calculate the IRR for each project. So the initial outlay period will be the negative. So solving for IRR is an iterative process using the following equation na makikita nyo sa PPT na nasa taas. If we then calculate, so ang lumabas sa project A for the IRR is 16.61%. So the project B is 5.23%. So given that, the company cost of capital is 10%. So the management should proceed with project A and reject the project B. Limitation of IRR. There are 4 different limitations of IRR. So the first one is the multiple IRR. When a project cash flows switch between positive and negative, multiple times it can lead to multiple IRRs. That is make difficult to determine if the project is financially viable unlike a single IRR, which clearly indicates profitability. Multiple IRR can be misleading and difficult to interpret. It means that once na yung isang project is nag-turn into positive na maraming beses, it can lead to multiple IRRs. So it means that mahihirapan tayong ma-determine if yung project ba is kumikita or hindi. Unlike sa single IRR na madali lang siyang i-interpret if kumikita or hindi. So in these cases, it recommended talaga na gumamit ng INFIBI para sa mas informed decision. Next is the scale independence. IRR doesn't consider the overall size of the project. A project which with a higher IRR but smaller scale might generate less absolute profit than a larger scale project with a lower IRR. Therefore, it's crucial to consider both IRR and the scale of project when making investment decision. It means that hindi alang-alang ng IRR ang kabuuang sukat ng isang project. Ang isang project na may mataas na IRR ngunit maliit lang siya is makakabuo siya ng mas unting kita. Unlike dun sa mga malalaking project na may mababang IRR. Reinvested cash flow. IRR assumes that all cash flow generated by a project are reinvested at the same rate as the IRR itself. This assumption might not be realistic as it's often difficult to find investment opportunity which such high returns. In reality, the reinvestment rate may be lower which can affect the overall profitability of the project. It means that kapag yung isang company or investor is naglagay sila ng income distribution from doon sa investment back into the investment instead of receiving cash. For example is, may isang investor na nag-reinvest siya ng dividends from a stock they own to buy more shares. The last one is the time value money. When IRR consider the time value of money, it's sensitive to chosen discount rate. A small change in the discount rate can significantly impact the calculated IRR. This sensitivity can make it difficult to accurately compare project, especially when dealing with the different risk profile and investment horizon. It means that doesn't account for the time value of money. IRR doesn't consider the opportunity cost of invested capital.
To be better more understand about the limitations of IRR or yung internal rate of return, I will be discuss again. Number 1 is yung multiple IRRs. Kapag ang cash flow ng isang project ay maraming beses na nagbabago yung sign, minsan ay positive and then minsan ay negative, maaaring mag-result kasi ito ng maraming IRRs or yung iba't ibang porsyento ng kita. Kapag marami kasing IRRs, nagiging confusing yung result dahil hindi malinaw kung aling tamang IRR na dapat gamitin. Hindi rin madaling malaman natin kung profitable ba talaga yung project dahil maraming resulta. For example, isipin natin yung isang project sa unang taon ay may gastos or negative. Then sa ikalawang taon ay may kita or positive. Then sa ikatlong taon may dagdag na gastos ulit or negative. Sa ganitong sitwasyon kasi, pwede magkaroon ng multiple IRRs dahil sa maraming pagbabago ng cash flow. Dahil dito, hindi straightforward ang IRR na basihan para maging profitability yung isang project. Then, number 2 is yung scale independence. Kapag ang IRR kasi hindi isinasalang-alang yung laki or yung scale ng isang project, ibig sabihin, kahit mataas yung IRR ng isang project, hindi nito nasusukat kung gaano kalaki yung kita na may bibigay doon sa company. Dahil dito, posibleng mas mataas ang internal rate of return ng isang maliit na project kaysa doon sa malaking project. Pero mas maliit din yung kabuuang kita nito. Sa ganitong paraan, maaaring piliin yung maliit na project dahil mas mataas yung internal rate of return. Kahit na mas malaki yung kita, ang maidudulot ng malaking project na may mas mababang internal rate of return. For example, sabihin natin na may project A na IRR na 30%, pero ang investment ay 50% lang. At may project B na may IRR na 20%, pero 1 million ang investment. Kung internal rate of return lang ang pagbabasihan, maaaring piliin ang project A dahil mas mataas ang 30% ng IRR nito, pero sa kabuuan, mas malaki talaga yung actual profit ng project B dahil mas malaki ang kita nito sa malaking investment. Then number 3 is yung reinvested cash flows. Kapag kasi ang internal rate of return ay ina-assume natin na lahat ng kikitain o cash flow ng isang project ay i-reinvest sa parehong rate ng IRR. For example, kung ang internal rate of return ng project ay 15%, ina-assume ng internal rate of return na calculation na lahat ng cash flow ay i-invest ulit doon sa parehong 15%. Dahil hindi pa lagi possible na i-reinvest ang kita sa parehong rate ng internal rate of return, lalo na kung mataas ang internal rate of return ng project. Mas realistic kasi kapag ang reinvestment rate ay mas mababa kaysa doon sa internal rate of return. Kaya nagiging hindi accurate ang assumption ng internal rate of return sa mga reinvested cash flow. For example na lang, kapag ang IRR na isang project ay 25%, sa actual practice, maaari ang kita ay reinvest lang doon sa ibang projects na may 10% return. Dahil dito, ang assumption ng internal rate of return na 25%, ang reinvestment rate ay nagiging malayos doon sa pinaka-realistic at posibleng mag-resulta ito doon sa over-estimation ng actual returns ng isang project. Then, last one is yung time value of money. Kapag hindi ito sinasalang-alang yung internal rate of return ng ng time value of money o yung idea ng pera ngayon ay mas mahalaga kaysa doon sa parehong halaga ng pera doon sa kinaharap. Ito ay nagiging sensitive din doon sa discount rate na ginagamit. Kapag kasi sensitive ang internal rate of return sa discount rate, ay maaaring magresulta sa pagbabago ng internal rate of return ng isang project. Kasi nakadepende doon sa napiling rate. Dahil dito hindi palaging reliable ang internal rate of return doon sa projects na may variable or hindi tiyak na discount rates at pwedeng magbago ang profitability. Profitability assessment rather, kapag binago yung discount rate. For example na lang, kung ang isang project ay ina-assess gamit ang 10% na discount rate at may internal rate of return na 15%, magandang idea na itong ituloy. Pero kung may external factors na magtaas ng discount rate sa 12% or 13%, maaaring bumaba yung appeal ng isang project dahil malapit na ito sa internal rate of return. Sa ganitong sitwasyon, nagiging mas mahirap magtiwala doon sa internal rate of return, lalo na kung pabago-bago ang discount rate. Now, let's go to the discussing about the advantages of NPV or yung net present value. Number 1 is yung direct measure of value. Ang net present value kasi nabibigay talaga ng direct measurement na kikitain ng isang project doon sa company. Sa madaling salita, kapag kinumpute natin yung net present value, may kita din natin kung magkano yung kikitain or yung true value na inibibigay ng project doon sa company. Kapag positive kasi ang NPV or yung net present value, ibig sabihin, kumikita yung kumpanya mula doon sa project at may dagdag itong value. Ito yung dahilan kung bakit madalas gamitin ng mga kumpanya yung net present value or yung NPV dahil nakita talaga yung true contribution ng project sa company value. Then number 2 is yung consider scales. Isa ito sa mga advantages ng NPV dahil may kakayan itong isaalang-alang yung laki ng isang project o yung tinatawag din nating scale. Kahit pa magkaiba ang laki ng dalawang project, pwede pa rin silang i-compare gamit yung NPV dahil ini-scale nito yung kita based sa laki ng bawat project. For example, kung may maliit na project na may 10,000 na NPV or net present value at yung isang malaking project na may 100,000 na NPV, pareho mo makikita yung totoong epekto ng bawat isa sa kumpanya dahil nakaka-adjust ang net present value doon sa kanilang scale o laki. Number 3 is yung flexibility. Ang NPV kasi is flexible. Pwede itong i-adjust batay sa iba't ibang discount rates, risk premiums, at reinvestment assumptions rather. Ang flexibility na ito ay important dahil hindi pare-pareho yung risk or yung expectation ng bawat project. For example, kung risky ang project, mas mataas na discount rate ang pwedeng gamitin para i-reflect ang uncertainty nito. Kung mababa naman ang risk, mas mababang discount rate ang pwedeng gamitin. Then, pwede rin natin baguhin ang assumptions kung paano i-reinvest ang kita. Sa flexibility na ito, nagiging accurate yung NPV sa pag-compute doon sa true value ng mga project dahil nakaka-adjust ito doon based sa sitwasyon ng isang project. Then, the last one or yung number 4 is yung decision rule. Ang net present value kasi ay may simpleng decision rule na nag-help sa pag-decide kung dapat ba ituloy or ihinto yung isang project. Kapag NPV kasi kapag nakita natin positive, ibig sabihin kumikita yung isang kumpanya. Kaya dapat itong ituloy or yung ituloy yung project. Then kapag ang NPV naman ay negative, ibig sabihin ay nalulugi yung isang kumpanya. Kaya hindi ito itutuloy. Dahil sa simpleng rule na ito, nagiging mas madali para sa mga manager at executives ang pagpili ng mga projects. Objective din ito objective yung metric na ito, kaya hindi kailangan ng subjective opinion kapag positive ang NPV, may dagdag talaga nakita. Kapag negative naman, hindi ito nagiging sulit sa magiging nilalabas ng isang company.
So the last topic that I will be going to discuss is about the report case for net present value over internal rate of return. So when it comes to capital budgeting, two of the most commonly used metrics to evaluate investment projects are the internal rate of return, or what we call IRR, and the net present value, or what we call NPV. While both methods provide valuable insights, they can lead to different conclusions about the attractiveness of projects, particularly kapag magko-compare ka ng projects of varying scales. So this report examines a comparative analysis of two hypothetical projects, which is, as you can see sa screen, si Project A and si Project B. So sa topic ko na to, ay highlight dito yung advantage ng paggamit ng net present value over kay internal rate of return. So project overview. So as you can see, meron dalawang project dyan, si Project A and si Project B. Si Project A meron siyang initial investment na $100,000 and meron siyang cash inflows na $50,000 per year for 3 years. And si Project B naman meron siyang initial investment na $200,000 and meron siyang cash inflows na $100,000 per year sa loob ng 3 years. As you can see, given na dyan yung mga sagot. So unahin muna natin yung internal rate of return analysis. So when we say internal rate of return, it is the discount rate that makes the net present value of cash flows from an investment equal to 0. So it is often used as a benchmark for evaluating the profitability of projects. And as you can see, si Project A is meron siyang 25% na internal rate of return, while si Project B naman is meron 20%. So based nga sa internal rate of return analysis, yung si Project A yung nag-appear na mas attractive dahil sa internal rate of return niya na 25% compared kay Project B na 20%. So this might suggest na si Project A siya yung may better investment opportunity. While moving forward sa net present value analysis. So when we say net present value analysis, it calculates the present value of cash inflows generated by a project, then minus the initial investment. So it provides direct measure of how much value an investment is expected to generate. So ganun pa rin yung gagamitin natin, si Project A and si Project B pa rin. And i-assume natin na yung discount rate ng dalawa na yun is 10%. So as you can see then, given na rin yung sagot dyan, si yung lumabas na result ng dalawang project na yan nung ginamit ng net present value, si Project A is meron siyang net present value na $37,566, while si Project B naman meron siyang $75,132. So in conclusions, while yung Project A, siya yung may mataas na internal rate of return nung una, which is yung 25%, compared kay Project B, which is 20%. So, iba naman yung ni-reveal dito sa net present value analysis. So, dito sa net present value analysis, mas mataas yung yung result ni Project B compared kay Project A. So, yun nga, as you can see, mas mataas nga yung result ni Project B compare kay Project A nung ginamit natin yung net present value analysis. So, pagdating kasi sa capital budgeting decision, kapag masyado kang nag-rely sa paggamit ng internal rate of return, it can be misleading. Especially kapag magko-compare ka ng projects, and then yung projects na yun, meron siyang different initial investments or cash flow patterns. So, in this case, net present value provides a more accurate assessment of the project's value by considering both the magnitude and timing of cash flows. So, let's proceed to recommendation. So, while the internal rate of return is a useful tool in project evaluation, it is essential to recognize its limitation and use it alongside other metrics such as net present value. So the latter offers a more comprehensive and reliable approach to capital budgeting decision, especially kapag magdi-deal ka sa mga complex projects or magko-compare ka ng mga investments with different scales and cash flow profile. So na-recommend dito na for optimal decision making pagdating sa capital allocation, mas sinasuggest nila na gamitin yung net present value over kay internal rate of return kapag mag-i-evaluate ka ng potential investment. Thank you.